This is Marty Stewart with SeminarSecrets.com. You can hear the complete version of this big seminar interview by going to www.SeminarSecrets.com.
Well, folks, the first thing I'd like to do is welcome you to the big seminar. And the key is tonight is going to be a tremendous call. You are on the big seminar preview series. And tonight's call is going to be with John Childers. And tonight, what we are going to do is we're going to learn about the highest paid profession. You may be wondering what I mean by the highest paid profession. Well, John's going to explain that to you in just a moment. But before we get into talking with John, what I want to do tonight is tell you a little bit about something that we're doing down in Orlando, Florida on March 19th, 20th, and 21st. And it's going to be a major event, the biggest internet marketing seminar that has ever been put together is going on in Orlando on those dates, and it's called the Big Seminar. This is our third big seminar. Let me give you a little bit of history. In January of last year, January 2003, we had 168 people. We sold out the facility we had for the first big seminar. The second big seminar, we had over 300-plus people, and we sold out, again, the facility that we had. And this next time, we're going to be selling out the big seminar again because we have tremendous speakers. People like Alex Mondosian is going to be with us, Yannick Silver, Jimmy D. Brown, Alexandria Brown, David Garfinkel, Michael Fortin, one of the greatest copywriters that ever lived, is going to be with us at the big seminar. Jim Edwards is going to be with us. Bruce Safran is going to be with us. Mike Stewart is going to be with us. Also, we have Fred Gleek is going to be with us. And you know what? Just recently, actually through Mr. Childers that's on the phone with us today, we actually acquired Mark Victor Hansen, the person that was responsible for selling over 80 million books. Him and Jack Canfield wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul. I think many of you on this call have heard it. Well, Mark is going to be live in Orlando at the big seminar talking about something that you need to learn. You need to listen to what Mark is going to say on Friday night in Orlando. It's going to be tremendous, but you can meet Mark live at the big seminar in Orlando. So, again, mark your calendars now. Go to the site, register it. But you know what? I got one more thing before I introduce John, and that is I'm making an announcement right now, something that we just put together. Actually, Alex Mondosian helped me put this together about an hour ago, so it's brand new, hot off the press. And at the big seminar in Orlando, I want to make you famous. Here's what's happening. Everyone has been after me to put together a book. And I decided I'm not only going to put together a book, but I'm going to take 100 of my closest friends, which are people at the big seminar, and I'm going to give you the opportunity to be included in the book. We're going to have 101 marketing strategies on the Internet today. Anyone can participate, but we're going to take it from the people at the big seminar. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to market this book to not only my list, but I'm going to market to all the people that I know on the Internet, all the top marketers across the board, and we're going to shoot it up to number one at the top of Amazon very fast, very quickly, and the exposure that people are going to get from this book is going to be tremendous. But my point to you is I want to make you famous. I want to include you in my new book that we're going to launch at the big seminar, and we're going to start the process there, and you are going to have the opportunity to be in that book. So again, keep that in mind, and I'm going to tell you why at the end of this call. But now, into our call, the first thing I'd like to do is introduce you to someone that has had a major impact in my life in the last 6 months, someone that has literally added I'm going to give you the small figures, a minimum of 6 figures to my income this coming year, if not a lot more than that, well into the 6 figures, I will say, because the information that he's going to talk about tonight about the highest paid profession is just tremendous. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to John Childers. John, welcome to the call.
Well, Armand, thank you very much for having me here, and I'm excited about teaching about the world's highest paid profession. Because let me tell you something, if I can just get going here, everybody on this call tonight is going to be really excited about the first thing that I've got to tell you. You can join the world's highest paid profession, which is being a public speaker, but you do not have to do that full time. You can do it part-time. You can keep what you're doing right now. You can have your own home-based business. You can even have a job if you want to do that. And you can be a public speaker if you follow the formula that we're going to be teaching at the big seminar.
Now, John, could you
as much of that as you can tonight?
John, could you just speak up just a little bit louder?
I will do my best.
Oh, that's much better. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Great. Now, John, let's start off here, because I want to give people a little bit of a background of where you were and where you came from, and then how you got involved in the speaking industry, because the speaking industry is just a huge industry, and it's very popular certainly nowadays, but it's been for quite some time. But what I want to do is I want to give them a little bit of background about you. Now, prior to being not only one of the highest paid speakers without a promoter ever paying you a fee, what did you do before that?
Well, I had an automotive repair shop. You know, come from a blue-collar background. I was a high school dropout. I never had a whole lot of formal education. When I finally went back to get my formal education, you know, I was all excited about, okay, if I go to night school, I can become a college graduate. And not one person in the 40-some-odd years since I graduated has ever asked me to see that diploma. It was a total waste of time, but I came from having my automotive repair shop, but I went to a seminar, exactly what you're advising people to do tonight. Go to a seminar because of the kind of information that is taught in a seminar format. It's just bullets. I mean, just this is what you do, step by step, 1, 2, 3. It's like a recipe. The seminar I went to was on how to invest in real estate. I made my first $1 million in real estate. And then I made many more millions of dollars than that teaching people how I made my first $1 million. Because what most people want to know is how to get started. And if there's one thing that is the obstacle that everyone needs to overcome, it's building momentum. How do you get started? And that's what we're going to be covering at the big seminar, is the very basic steps to build your momentum. Because I think all of us can agree that once you've got your momentum going, once you feel this force, then it's going to be a lot easier. So the main thing that I want to do there is my part, is get people up and going. I told you I made my first $1 million in real estate. I made more money than that teaching people how I made my first. Now I teach people how they can go out and teach people. Because there's more money. If you're taking notes, here's the first thing I want you to put down. The most profitable product in the world is information. Microsoft sells computer software, which is nothing other than information that's being delivered by different format than would be normally delivered in a book. So one of the things that we're going to cover is how many different ways can you transfer information. If we're going to sell information, and we're going to do that from a platform, which is what I teach people how to do. If you've got an e-book, if you've got a published book, if you've got CDs, if you've got any kind of information product, and we're going to show you how to get these things. We're going to show you how to develop these things. And I'll teach you as much as I can in this hour, but I want people to get up. Armand, I want people to get out and start making some money. And I'm talking about serious money. The world's highest paid profession, here's the formula. Number one, you need to sell information as a product. That's step one. Here's step two. You need to stop selling products one-to-one and sell it one-to-many. That's what's so great about being a public speaker, is that you make a sales presentation, but you're in front of 200, 300, 400 people at the same time. Now, you can do it like most people do it. You can go out and find a client. You can sit there and make your sales presentation, but you're going to work yourself to death. You need to learn the principles that have made people literally filthy rich. Have an information product. Learn to sell that one to many when you're speaking, just like you're doing the same thing on the Internet. So what I appreciate is that Armand's allowing me to come down there and show you this other avenue. Because think about it. If you have an information product that you can sell on the Internet 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, all over the world, that's okay. That's well and good. But wouldn't you like to go out because of what you're doing on the Internet and be at a convention? I mean, last month they had 10,000 people in Las Vegas. They invited me over to kind of case the thing because they want me to be a speaker there. Now, that's a big event. I probably haven't spoken to 10,000 people in the last 10 years if you added it all together. And now people are asking me to come and speak to those kind of conventions. Now, most people will never do that. Normally, I'll speak to like 200, 300, 400 people. Occasionally, there'll be 500 or 600 people in an audience. But right now, I net, bottom line, probably $1 million a year. But in the 25 years that I've been speaking, 22 of them as a seminar speaker, the least money I have ever made was, I think it was 1989, I made $195,000. And I was trying to retire that year. And I've tried to retire 4 different times, but I can't.
Now, John, there's one of the things I think that people may be, I just want to clarify for some of the people, is that there's a difference. There's a difference between a speaker that it's a paid speaker, a fee-paid speaker, and then there's a difference between a person that actually comes in and actually makes their money by selling products from the stage. And which has the most potential?
Well, you're dead on. The most profitable thing to do is have a product. And a lot of times I start off my presentation and I say, my name is John Childers, and my claim to fame is that you've never heard of me. But the thing is, I've probably never heard of the people in my audience either. What we all have in common is that we're not famous. And yet I've made millions of dollars selling product from the stage. And everyone can do the same thing. Now, hey, Armand, if we were all famous, it's easy to be a public speaker. They'll pay us $20,000, $30,000 for a speech. They're paying Bill Clinton over $100,000 because he's famous.
Right.
Well, I'm not famous. You're famous on the Internet, but now that you've got products you can sell from the stage, it makes no difference. Everyone that comes to the big seminar can leave there with this model. They can take the information that they learn at the big seminar, filter it through their own brain, write it down, say it, and record that, and now go out and start selling that information. Because once it's filtered through your brain and you sit down and record that information, that becomes your intellectual property. It's kind of like a reporter, Armand. Everybody they think, erroneously, by the way, that they have to be the authority on some subject before they could be a public speaker. They do not. They can be a reporter. And if you'd like to test this, I want everybody on the call tomorrow, when you have coffee with someone, sit down and say, man, you cannot believe what I'm learning on these pre-big seminar calls. Now, I'm talking about, people haven't even signed up yet, and you're learning all these things before you even get to the big seminar. Now, if people at your coffee break kind of lean forward and they're interested in what you might have learned, then you can make a fortune as a public speaker. The reason? You do not have to be an authority. All you have to be is a reporter. Armand, the most famous reporter I know of, I bet you everybody on this call has heard of the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill.
Absolutely.
Napoleon Hill was not one of the wealthy people that was being interviewed in that book. He was the reporter that went out and interviewed them. So what most of the people are doing today is they're wearing a different hat. They're going out and saying, let me tell you what I learned at the big seminar. Let me tell you what I learned at a so-and-so conference. Let me tell you what I learned from going to a different learning event. And then they're taking and compiling all the information that they learned at all these different events, which is nothing other than doing research, and they're giving their spin on it. And then that's how they put that together, and they're able to sell really good information from the platform.
Now, the key is, I think this is, let's give some examples. If you don't mind sharing this.
I don't mind at all.
Okay, I want to give people an example of the potential of what's the possibility. Now, let's give an example. Would you say, John, that the average time a speaker normally has at a seminar or an event is, let's say, about an hour and a half?
I'd say about an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours, but you can even do it in an hour. But somewhere between an hour and 2 hours, you're correct.
Okay, so between an hour and 2 hours. And let's also assume, obviously they have a product that they want to, not only they want to teach people, they want to sell this product at the end to the people in the audience. Now based upon, some of your experiences, I mean, what, let's go from one extreme. Obviously, the one extreme is that a person that doesn't know some of the principles that you're going to be teaching at the seminar will make zero.
That's right.
So that's the one extreme. We have that covered. But I mean, what's the high point? I mean, I know I've heard some stories of some huge incomes generated within that short period of time.
That's true. And Armand, when I met you, we were doing a little small seminar together. I think there was maybe 150 people there.
Yeah.
I think that I added up the first 4 or 6 speakers combined. If you added all their sales, they added all of them up, and there was about $5,000, if my memory is not correct. And between you and I together, we did almost $80,000 or something like that.
Yeah.
And it just kind of blew everybody away. Who are these guys? And I'll tell you who we are. We are people just like everybody else. We come from the same blue-collar background. I know your background, Armand. You know mine. And we're sitting there and just says, hey, we've got information that if you had this information, you could make money with it. And people wanted it, and they were willing to buy it, and they're all happy. Okay, so that's kind of a small event, maybe 150 people. But here's the real numbers that people need to write down. If you sell 10% of the audience that you're talking to your product, let's say the first thing that I think everyone should reach as an objective is to have a $500 home study course. And if you have a $500 home study course, your hard cost, everybody on this call, write these numbers down, your hard cost should not exceed $50, which means, I'm not talking about your production cost of the time you spent putting it together, but by the time you duplicate your CDs, your DVDs, your manuals, or your e-zines, whatever it is that you're selling, this information, your software, it should not exceed $50. So you have actually marked your cost up 1,000%. So if you spoke to an audience and you sold, if there's 100 people in the audience, you sold 10 of them, that's $5,000 in sales. Now there will be some type of split between like the promoter and you as a speaker. Now in the beginning, if you don't understand the business, you think that's terrible. Hey, this is wonderful. The reason, you got all kinds of conventions and conferences all over this country. There are hundreds of thousands of meetings. And people say, well, now, where do you find these places to speak? And here is a very basic lesson that I want everyone to write down. Go to any hotel in your hometown. Go back there where they've got meeting rooms. And look on the little agenda there and make a list of all the seminars that are being held in that hotel tomorrow. I lived in Orlando, Florida for 25 years. And every Monday morning when I came back, it was just every day's business. I would go to about 5 big hotels, and I made a list of all the seminars that were in that hotel that day. And I just started going around. I'd go up to the speaker, and I said, my name's John Childers. I'm a speaker. What's your seminar on? And I'd take notes. How did you get the people here in the room? And I would take notes. And I'm sitting there thinking, I think the whole world is naive about our business. We go to...
You have just listened to a portion of this Big Seminar interview. To get the complete version, simply go to www.seminarsecrets.com. Find out how you can attend the next Internet Marketing Big Seminar. And for a very special offer you can't refuse, visit www.seminarsecrets.com.